right, welcome back to a new episode of the Hustle Harder Show. We're very excited to be coming to you today from Chicago, Illinois. And this is a really special episode because it's the first in a brand new series that we've decided to start doing. And we're going to call this the Hometown Hustle series. So we're going to be doing a number of these interviews that we'll be releasing throughout the year. And for this series, we have a brand new co-host, Abbey Hearn.
Hey, James.
Excited to have Abbey. I think she's going to add a great element to the show. So in the series, we're going to be interviewing some of our top originators from around the country, talking about, their story, but also really diving into what's going on in the markets that they operate in. At Renovo, all of our originators really focus on one or a small handful of markets, and they are experts in those markets. So we're going to talk about what's happening here in the Chicagoland market as well as Indiana. And my guest, or our guest, I should say, is none other than Eric Workman. Eric, say hello.
Morning, everybody.
Eric is one of our most tenured originators. Eric's been at the firm for a long time and has built an amazing business here in Chicago. So we're really excited to learn about Eric and his market, and hopefully, we can uncover a few gems about what's going on for real estate investors here in Chicago. So with that, let's get it started. Eric, tell us a little bit about you, a little introduction.
Sure. So my entire professional life has been in real estate. Graduated from college 22 years ago, which makes me older than Abbey. Graduated from college 22 years ago. I think we figured that out. Yeah. Got immediately into new construction, which was in 2004, which was a wonderful time to be in the new construction business. And then a few years later, it was a terrible line of work.
I heard about that.
Yeah. So a few years later, then got my real estate license and started working with investors. And then over the course of a handful of years, bought, renovated, and sold about 1,000 houses with investors and small family offices. And then as that kind of wound down, one of the bankers that we had worked with for quite some time was a guy named Brandon Moulton, who's the longest tenured lender here at Renovo. He left the bank and started a new career at Renovo and brought myself and my real estate partner at the time in for a meeting with Kevin and Daniel to potentially become clients of Renovo. That didn't end up working out, but I ended up coming to work here. So, and that was 11 years ago. Amazing.
Yeah. How have things changed at Renovo? When you got here 11 years ago, it was effectively a startup.
Yeah, I think we'll always be able to picture the first office with the orange wall. When I first started at Renovo, we were doing all of our loans still on paper. We had brown paper files in the filing cabinet outside of Kevin's office. And we essentially had one product, right? It was a fix and flip loan at 3 points and 13% with exit fees in months 9, 10, and 11. And that was only on 1 to 4, right? So it basically had to be a single family fix and flip. And now, we sit here today, and it's one of Kevin's lines of Tony Robbins that he uses all the time. You overestimate what you can do in a year, you underestimate what you can do in a decade. And we sit here a decade later, and essentially, if it's a residential real estate project of any type, be it hundreds of units new construction to hundreds of units refinancing, all the way down to again, a single family fix and flip, we can do it. And it's been amazing to see the scale that the company has achieved and just the sheer number of products that we're able to bring to the marketplace.
Yeah, it's been amazing. In my almost 7 years at Renovo, we've changed dramatically, but you've got a handful of years on me there, and I know the growth and really what's been amazing is being able to grow as quickly as we have, but to maintain the quality of execution and the customer service, I think is really amazing.
Speaking of growth, we should talk about how Eric and his team just hit $1 billion in origination.
That's right. Well,
almost.
As we talked about this morning, he's about 250,000 shy of $1 billion.
I wasn't going to say it, but James is the one that.
Well,
yeah. I mean, if anybody would have said almost, it would have been you.
I was trying to be nice for once.
I was getting
We're
ahead of
very
it.
close. Yes. So I think obviously by the time this airs, we'll have crossed $1 billion, which completely surreal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
totally surreal. The my first year here as a lender, when I originally started with Renovo, I was focused on marketing and business development, and then it was 2019 was the first year that I officially spent the entirety of my time lending. I scratched and clawed my way to 30, 31, 33 million, something like that for the year. And now there are multiple teams across the country that are doing that level of volume in a month. So to sit here, 7 years later and to have crossed $1 billion as a team is, we're incredibly fortunate. We're very lucky, and it's surreal. But to the way the company is scaled, for us to reach $1 billion here for our team took 7 years. I think the next billion will probably take 2.5.
Yeah.
Which is maybe even the more surreal part.
Can you tell us a little bit about your team?
Oh, I'd love to. I have what I think is the greatest team in Renovo, Pot of the Year.
You never mentioned
Shout
that.
out Pot of the
You
Year.
never mentioned that. It's crazy.
We actually were Pot of the Year a couple years ago. I think we deserve to go back to back, but we'll let the Pacific Northwest team have last year's trophy. So I've got a team of 9 that are just the most dedicated and wonderful professionals that you can find in this business. We have 2 closers in Chris Ann and Christopher. We have 2 people on the front end that are essentially processing and managing the pipeline in Miranda and Lisa. We've got 2 underwriters in Petro and Colin. We've got a new guy who joined the team at the beginning of this year in Zaid, who's really focused on business development and sales efforts. Fred, who is out in the field doing anywhere from 7 to 15 draws a day around Chicagoland for our clients. And then the person who's been my right hand and who is essentially the COO of our business is Daniela, who official title is relationship manager, but jack of all trades for this business, and again has been my right hand for almost 6 years now.
Number one, incredible accomplishment on reaching $1 billion for your team. I think can't go overstated how amazing that is. And I agree with you. I think the next $1 billion will come a lot faster. But there was a time in this industry where an individual team doing $1 billion seemed, fiction. And it's amazing to see. We've had several other teams that have achieved that as well, and there will be many more. But I did want to point out, like, that team that you just described, they only work your client's pipeline, right? Those
Right.
folks are 100% dedicated to the borrowers that you work with day in and day out. And I think that level of support, I think our clients really feel that, and is one of the major, factors in the success that we as a company have had, but you and your team have had. So amazing stuff.
Well, one of the things that Renovo prides itself on is an industry-leading NPS score, right? And that starts at the top, right? It has been Kevin and Daniel's communication from the beginning that if we're going to be in this business, we're going to deliver the best experience that a customer can have. And what I often tell people is lenders are like quarterbacks. We get entirely too much credit for the success of the team, because the people who deliver that customer experience it's not me, it's them, right? And throughout the life of a loan, from the time that it signs up until the time that it closes, the borrower is going to have way more contact points with the team than they are with me. And so, like, when you go back through our NPS survey results and when the borrowers take the time to write out their messages, I would say 90% of the time they mention the members of the team: Miranda, Lisa, Daniela, Chris Ann. Unfortunately, the underwriting guys, they don't hardly ever get mentioned because borrowers don't talk to them much, but the borrowers mention them by name. They're the ones who deliver the experience. And to your point, my team works on our loans and our pipeline. And so it gives the borrowers an incredibly consistent experience, right? Every time they have a new loan, they hear from the same people. Every time they're going to a closing, they're getting the same information and documents from the same person. So, again, our ability to deliver an incredibly consistent customer experience and closing experience, I think, has been a huge component, maybe not necessarily to getting customers, but to maintaining the borrower loyalty that we have.
And you just recently opened up an office in Naperville. So tell us a little bit about that and how important you think it is to actually have the whole team working side by side.
Yeah, I think that if you want to limit the size and scale of the business that you have, then working remotely is possible. But if you are in a market where, essentially the sky's the limit for the amount of activity and volume that you can achieve, which Chicago certainly happens to be one, that you really need to be together. We had reached around like 350 loans as a team a couple of years back. And I sat down with kind of the core members of the team at that point and said, listen, if this is the size of business that we want, we can stay remote. But if we want to grow, if we want to hit 1,000 loans a year, which is our team's current goal, if we want to hit 1,000 loans a year, we are going to have to do it together. There's just a tremendous amount of learning that comes from being together. There's a tremendous amount of, when you have loans that are going through the pipeline, all the time things get stuck in little places. And the collaboration that happens between, the processing side, the underwriting side, and the closing side that can happen when you are literally, 10, 12 feet apart, it moves loans through the pipeline so much faster than when you're trying to do all of that communication via Slack or text or email or Zoom. I think also it delivers a better borrowing experience for the customer whenever everyone is together.
Sure.
The number of times that I've been on the phone with a borrower and been able to say, hang on a second, and then grabbed Miranda or Colin or Chris Ann to figure out whether it was on the new side or whether it was on the closing end, what the borrower needed. I mean, it's countless at this point. So
yeah, the spending the day in your office 2 days ago, I was blown away by just the teamwork, right? And Daniela standing up and saying, "Hey, this is an issue," and it might kind of land in someone else's camp, but her being able to say, "I got that for you. You keep doing what you're doing, and I'll fix this one." That doesn't happen in nearly the same way if you're not in the same room, and it was really neat to see, how smooth that can be and the lift that you get from having everybody together. I think that's amazing.
And I think this year we'll be around 700 loans. Our big audacious goal is 1,000, but that's doubling the size and the production that we had from 2 years ago whenever we made the decision to go in office. The other part that I think is maybe even the most valuable is when you're training new people. Mm-hmm. The amount of osmosis, like the learning from osmosis that happens when you are together, especially whenever someone that you're bringing in is younger and maybe not an industry veteran, this might be their first or second professional stop. The amount of learning that just comes from being around each other is completely invaluable. And I think it has sped up the timeline for what younger members of our team are capable of. I think it's sped things up by years.
Yeah. It's also fun. Yeah. Honestly, keeping the culture alive, I think, is something that we're always looking to do. And how we talked about old Renovo for a second, like how much fun did we used to have all hanging out together? Yeah. And you see that a lot in the Naperville office too, people messing with each other and joking around. And it just creates an environment that is actually kind of fun to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of pulling for each other, a lot of, like you said, it's kind of the way things used to be.
Sure.
As we discussed, I'm old enough to have worked at a time when people went to the office to work. Yeah, it's kind of how things used to be. It's the way you thought about going into work every day. And I just, I live in Naperville. I'm incredibly grateful to Renovo and to the team that we could put the office there. And I'm just excited to see where it goes. We're almost full at this point.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's a good transition. Let's, talking about, continuing to grow and all the things that you guys are thinking about in terms of building your business. Let's dig into the market. You really do probably the bulk of your business here in Chicago. You also cover Indiana, and I know that's a growing opportunity for you and your team. But let's talk about what's going on right now for real estate investors in, let's just say, Chicagoland, and you can expand that if you want. What's happening today? How have things changed over the last couple of years for your clients, and then let's also touch on what you expect and kind of your forecast for Chicago real estate investors going forward.
We actually just reposted this video that I saw from it's a mortgage brokerage shop here in Chicago. Two young guys who are doing a fantastic job, and they posted a video about how Chicago is the most misunderstood market in the country, and I reposted it because I thought it was brilliant. Chicago's national headlines, I would say, are there's a lot to be desired there. There's a lot of room for improvement for what we get talked about nationally, whether it be crime or taxes or negative migration. I don't see the impact of that whatsoever on the ground here. I think we're an incredibly resilient market. You don't see the booms that you see in maybe coastal areas or Austin, like where you're from, which then you don't have the big downfalls, right? You don't have, like what happened in Austin over the last year and a half, or, Tampa got very tight there for a while. So we're very steady. We're a very consistent market. You've seen, I would say, very reasonable growth in both value and rents here over the last almost decade, with very few, even minor blips. And just given everything that Chicago has endured from a leadership perspective over the last, call it 8 years, for us to be where we are, I think the sky's the limit for where we can go. There's a lot more cranes in the air these days than there used to be. When you're driving into the city, you can count, dozens of them. There's a tremendous amount of new construction that's happening really all over the city. Danielle and I just met, in person with someone here on the southwest side, Tri-Taylor, which is just a few blocks west of where we are. There's a ton of new construction going on over there. And he's bringing some beautiful stuff to market that is coming at a price that I would have had a hard time believing a few years ago. The north side's doing incredibly well, and then the suburbs are just on fire, right? The Chicago suburban market tends to be dominated from a new construction standpoint by the big builders, by the nationals, the Pulte, the D.R. Horton, Lennar, et cetera. But you're starting to see more and more smaller community developments from private home builders that are popping up, and I don't see an end in sight for it. I really don't. I think we as a metroplex, there's almost 11 million people. I say this quite a bit as well. Like, the best and brightest young minds from around the Midwest, when they graduate from Illinois and Indiana and Ohio State and Michigan and Notre Dame and Wisconsin, they go to Chicago, right? They look to start their career in Chicago. They come to Chicago, they fall in love with the city, they fall in love with someone, they build a family, they move out to the suburbs, and then that cycle really, continues to perpetuate itself. We have a ton of smart, hungry, incredible young people that come into the market every year. And I think that bodes well for the real estate, just for real estate in general, for years to come.
Yeah, I definitely think Chicago is very misunderstood. When I travel around the country and I talk to other people in the lending business, I get a lot of comments about, oh, you guys, you do a lot of business in Chicago. Like, man, that's got to be tough. And it's like, yeah, man, it's really tough. Stay out,
Yeah.
And that's totally fine.
But I'll give them, they're not wrong. It is tough. It is tough to do business here. Like, there are a lot of different neighborhoods. Every neighborhood's got its own alderman. Every alderman has their own ideas of what should and shouldn't happen, in their part of the city. Every town around Chicagoland has its own rules. I mean, there's a lot to navigate here. On top of that, like, we have some building codes here that are more expensive and are, take some projects longer. And we also have some areas that can be very tough, right? That from New York or from California, as you're underwriting something in certain parts of Chicagoland, you can become enamored with cash flow or what have you, that then, if you don't have the right borrower type and right management, those projects and loans can go bad in a hurry. And having been here for 11 years in this particular business, I've seen a number of national competitors come in, make a big splash, have trouble with the loans that they've made and then go back out. And a few of them, have come back around, a handful of different times. So they're not wrong. It is harder to do business here, but if you can do it here, you can do it. You can do it anywhere.
Well, it's always been one of the things that I have felt was one of our underappreciated strengths is that we grew the business in the beginning here. And I think it is one of the harder markets, from a lending perspective, foreclosure laws. If you have a borrower that unfortunately, is not successful, those provide a lot of friction. There's just a lot of friction to doing business. But I think if you can figure out how to do it well in this market, you can do it anywhere in the country, and it's easier in almost every other market. And easier is a relative term, certainly.
Sure.
But I think the other piece that is important is, you mentioned borrower quality, the experience level, it's harder for newer folks that are trying to learn the business. There are a lot of pitfalls here. But you've really built your business around, experienced professional investors. I think we as a firm believe that, we want to focus on the best operators because they have the best chance of success and they're looking to grow a business. And so for our style, which is very relationship focused, we want to not do one transaction with someone. We want to do lots of loans and really partner with our client. And part of that is helping them grow a business that continues to have more and more activity that we can help them with. I think, that's amazing. And talk a little bit about that in terms of how you built your roster of clients and how you think about, that aspect.
You hit the nail on the head in that our style of lending is best suited for professional real estate investors. People who are not less necessarily looking for someone to fund a deal. They're looking for a financing partner for their business. Look, it's just a lot more fun to do 12 loans with one guy than it is to do one loan with 12 different people. It's easier, it's more fun, it's more relationship based, and it's just a lot more rewarding to build a business that way. But also, that when you look at customer types, right, borrower types, you have to find someone who has been through the ringer enough with different financing options that what they are looking for is what we provide, right? You need a borrower who values speed, consistency, and the process and the experience that we deliver over what somebody from a different lending company might be trying to offer, whether it's look how nice our portal is, or we don't make you do appraisals, or our rate's a little bit lower. Our borrowers believe very much in that you get what you pay for. And so even if our rate is a little bit higher, they know that we will close. They know that the experience will be the exact same as it was on the last deal. They know that their draws will be funded in 24 hours. They don't have to go to a title company. They don't have to wait for a bank to send some third party out 2 weeks from now. They don't have to use a different closer for this week's loan as they did for last week's loan, like you have in some other instances.
Yep.
So again, we're looking for the professionals who are years into this business who value a partnership, speed, and reliability over pretty much anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, and I love the comment that you made at the beginning of this, which is, it's a lot more fun. It is. It's a lot more fun. And I think, the borrowers that we work with, the borrowers that you work with every day, I think the other thing they value is your level of expertise. 11 years in this business here in Chicago, focused exclusively here. Every neighborhood. That, the south side of that street has a different value than the north side of that street. And I think those are the things that for somebody who's really looking to build a business and scale from the investor perspective, that's valuable information. And a lot of these guys, they know that stuff as well, or some of it, but that tidbit that like, hey, maybe we should look at this again. Like I have another borrower in the same area and, here's what we're seeing. Maybe we should revisit that. Or, hey, I think this is an amazing deal. Let's get this done immediately. Like that kind of stuff is valuable and important. And I think the right borrowers, the ones that are really looking to build something, I think that's the kind of thing that you can't get. And when it's just, hey, here's a teaser rate that looks really attractive, but it doesn't come with anything else, right? And I think that's one of the things that has set you apart, is that you truly are an expert, and you've been on the operator side and you've renovated thousands or 1,000 homes. Like that is not typical for your average private lender around the country. So
as Abbey can attest, like when I first started at Renovo, I didn't know how to lend. I was not a good lender, but I could definitely relate to everything that our borrowers were experiencing and going through, right? I had borrowed a lot of money for these different deals and worked with a lot of different lenders and banks, but I didn't know how to lend. But I knew a lot of people and I could relate to what they were in need of. So I was able to build out a client roster, and thankfully Kevin, Daniel, people like Abbey gave me a long enough leash to then learn how to lend.
It's the only reason I decided to do this, so that you could publicly thank me with all of these people. You're welcome, Eric. That's why we're here today.
Yeah. Mission accomplished. We've now accomplished the goal.
I'm good.
Podcast
See ya.
over. No, that's awesome, and I think appreciate you sharing some of these thoughts. But let's move to the next segment of our show here. And I know Abbey, you have some questions.
I do.
I don't know what they are, so we're both, and I don't believe you know what they are. So I'm excited to hear.
Sure.
So let's dig in. What you got, Abbey?
I guess I'll start with an easy one, maybe easy. How did you get into real estate?
My very first foray into real estate started when I was 11 years old. I went to work for my dad and my grandpa's electric business. And, throughout all of high school and then college, I was doing electrical work. And so we would be doing house renovations and new construction. And so I was always around building and always around real estate that was either being newly constructed or being remodeled. And then my freshman year of college, in my very first finance class, my professor was someone who just believed in real estate as a means of gaining wealth, and essentially taught us the BRRRR method, back in 2000, how to buy something, fix it up, refinance it, and then, recycle your capital. And, he would always say that the toughest part is the renovation part. And I felt like, well, I've been doing that since I was 11. So I decided really early on in my college career that I was going to be in real estate.
Will you come do electrical work at my house?
Yes.
You heard it.
Yes.
What would you be doing if you weren't in real estate? Was there anything in the back of your mind that is a different path for you in the beginning?
The summer after my sophomore year of college, I interned for a financial planner in our hometown, because his house was the biggest and nicest house that we had ever wired. And so I reached out to him during my sophomore year and said, I'm getting a finance degree. I think I want to do real estate, but yours is the nicest house I've ever seen. And will you take an intern? And, it was a wonderful experience. I actually have my life and health and Series 6 license and all those things. They're not active, but I got them. So I think if I had not gotten the job with Pulte coming out of college, that I probably would have done financial planning.
You'd have been good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll never know.
I don't know. Depends how many rules there were.
No kidding. I had props, and I did not bring them, but your wife dropped off some high school yearbooks, which is fun, that we got to look at, which are in black and white, because that's how old Eric is.
I knew that was coming.
Let's talk about what Eric Workman was like in high school, because if I'm remembering correctly, my eye was drawn towards you in plays back then.
Yeah.
Like live productions.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in a small town in central Illinois, Mount Zion, which is just outside of Decatur. That's not necessarily relevant to a national audience here, but there were 4,000 people in my hometown, and grew up at a time when it was not uncommon for kids to play all different sports and to be in all sorts of different activities. I was in show choir from
Can you sing?
6th grade on. I don't guess it depends on who's listening. But,
Interesting. We'll talk about that later.
Sure. Yeah, so I was in show choir. I did the school plays, also played football, basketball, and baseball. But that was very common, right? Like there were 20 guys in the show choir, and on Fridays, 12 of us had our football jerseys on because you would wear your football jersey to school on game nights. So it was not uncommon for there to be, half the guys in the play, half the guys in show choir to also be, starting athletes.
Yeah.
Which was just a fantastic way to grow up. The kids these days, of which I have 4.
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah.
These whippersnappers.
Yeah, kids these days. There's just so much like specialization that is happening, like with youth sports. And I have 2 kids in high school right now, and the idea that that you'd go to the school's production of whatever, Les Mis, and that the lead would also be on the football team is just not really the way things are anymore. So back in my day.
Back in your day.
Yeah.
If you could give that young Eric Workman advice, what would it be?
Probably, well, I married my high school sweetheart, as you know, and she's the best. She's also been right on just about everything. I would say any of the like professional detours that didn't go well, she was never a fan of. I think I have not been afraid to take risks. My first job out of school was a commission-based job. Every position I've ever held has always been commission-based. And, I've had to bet on myself over and over and over again. At times it's been very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, but I would probably tell them, hey man, continue to bet on yourself, listen to your wife, and it works out great.
Love it. Switching gears, because you guys were talking about Chicago neighborhoods earlier. If you had an unlimited budget, what neighborhood in the city are you living and why?
In the city?
In the city, downtown. You got to move out of Naperville. You're going downtown.
Yeah, I think it's just hard to be Lincoln Park. I don't know how, I kind of don't know how you beat it. Mm-hmm. There's just the zoo and the parks and the access to the lake and then the proximity downtown. I don't know. I've had the chance recently this sounds incredibly snooty, but I used points. So you got to give me that credit. To stay at the Ritz, and the Ritz has residences. That could be cool. Like to have an awesome place at like the Ritz Tower, which is it's literally right downtown. You're just like around the corner from Water Tower and right on Michigan Avenue. And that would also be pretty cool.
That wouldn't suck.
No.
That wouldn't suck.
No, I mean, you couldn't really raise a family there. That would be like a place to have when you're older. Yeah. But unlimited budget, just, amazing house in Lincoln Park, kind of close to the parks and the zoo.
Yep. Good answer.
That would be where I'd go.
Deep dish or tavern style?
Tavern.
Where?
Lou Malnati's.
Okay.
Pepperoni, sausage, jardiniere, extra crispy.
Yep.
Oh yeah, you love the spice.
Absolutely, and I love the jardiniere. Like for those who don't know Chicago, jardiniere, it is fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the best.
I've got one of these. Can I jump in?
Of course.
Chicago dog or Italian beef?
That was my next one.
Yeah.
I swear to God.
We share a brain.
Yeah.
Co-hosts share a brain.
Chicago dog. I'm not an Italian beef guy.
So no ketchup on
I don't like wet bread. I think wet bread is gross.
Yeah. I agree.
Fair enough. We established, Abby and I had dinner last night with a few people, and we're dippers. I'm a dipper.
We're big dip family.
And so I love the Italian beef because you get a little dipping going. Although pizza I'm from Texas. We dip our pizza in ranch, and that's pretty good.
Do you like the chocolate cake shake though, and Portillo's?
No.
Because that's like drinking saggy cake, right?
Yes.
I argue with my husband about this all the time. It's not good.
Not a fan.
I love Portillo's, but I want to drink cake.
I think Portillo's has the best fries.
Okay.
I like crinkle fries. I don't
You're
know.
a crinkle fry guy?
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, crinkle fries.
Extra crispy,
I
man.
should have asked that.
Yes.
Malort or tequila?
I really don't like tequila, so I would say Malort.
That is an interesting answer. For those who don't know Chicago, Malort is a regional thing here. It's a liqueur, I guess, but it has
terrible.
a very unique flavor. And I will tell a short story. When I first joined Renovo, Ramey, our COO, had a little bar cart by his desk, and he had a bottle of Malort, and that was a rite of passage that I don't think actually existed. I think they just told me that it was, and I took it, and I will say it was a memorable experience.
Yeah.
It's brutal, isn't it?
I mean, I think if I had to drink it like over ice, I would take tequila and, just squeeze a bunch of limes in it.
Sure.
But if it's a shot, I mean, I'm a Chicago guy, so Malort.
That's a good answer.
You're more bourbon or beer, right, than anything?
If I'm going to drink, I drink bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind? Like, what's your brand?
My favorite bourbon of all time is a Weller 12. It's a black label. Eagle Rare is also pretty high up there for me. Yeah.
It's early, but you can tell Abby's thirsty.
Well, we were talking about how this would be cool if we did like a happy hour type of a vibe, but yeah, it's 10 a.m., so
Right.
maybe after. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Tell us about your little teeny tiny dogs.
My entire adult life, I've never had a dog that's weighed more than 10 pounds. That is, my wife always grew up with dogs and small dogs, and so we've always had small dogs. And they're great. They're fantastic. I mean, I love dogs. I think dogs are amazing.
Taylor Swift pulls you on stage. We talked about this yesterday.
Yes.
What song are you singing with her?
All Too Well. We also talked about that. I actually think it's her best, but also if I'm going to get the chance to be on stage with Taylor Swift, I'm going to be up there as long as I possibly can. So I'm going to pick her longest song too.
Is she still your fave? Is that like your girl, or do you have a favorite musician?
I wouldn't say I'm I'm probably a Swiftie. I think you could say that. I think she belongs on the Mount Rushmore of music. I think she's incredible. She's not, I don't listen to her all that frequently. My kids are big fans. We went to the Eras tour, what have you. Like, I think she's amazing. I think she's brilliant. She's incredible. But I'm more of a country music guy. I listen to country all the time. Morgan Wallen, Riley Green, Zach Brown. That's more my playlist.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So careful on how you answer this, but speaking of music, if you're in the car, podcasts or music?
Right. Typically podcasts.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite podcast?
Joe Rogan.
Okay. Not Hustle Harder?
Sorry.
That's number 2. That's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay if that's number 2 behind Joe
and
Rogan.
I got to give a shout out to my guys at Straight Up Chicago Investor Podcast. Mark and Tom are they're both clients, but even more than that, they're really good friends of mine. And I've been on there, I think, a dozen times now. Big supporter of that show. And I think they deliver something to the Chicagoland investor community that is unmatched. So those guys are amazing. They do an incredible job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We talked about Brandon Moulton earlier. You have had some friendly competition with our other Chicago lender here for years.
Yeah.
Who would win in a foot race? You or Brandon Moulton?
No one has ever accused me of being fast. He's taller than me, and probably has a longer stride. So I would probably.
It's not the answer.
Yeah, I mean, like the blow up Gumby looking things at like cell phone stores. That's probably what he looks like when he runs. But I would imagine he'd get me. Yeah.
Well, it's whoever didn't tear their Achilles in the 100-yard dash, I think, is who would win.
Probably. Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this already, but all-time favorite movie?
Top Gun.
Top Gun. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Figured.
Top Gun.
And who are you for Halloween every year?
Maverick. Of course. I don't know why I would change. I mean, the flight suit still fits. I've got the aviators. It's just what I do.
That was your stomach.
Yeah,
time.
it was.
Yeah.
It was. I knew you were going to say something too.
Speaking of needing to eat, favorite fast food?
Chipotle.
Chipotle.
Yeah. Actually, it's not close. Chipotle is a runaway winner.
What do you get? You a barbacoa guy or a chicken or what?
No, it's funny because I get the same thing every day. I get a double chicken quesadilla with fajita peppers and light cheese, and then they put it in the oven for extra long, so it gets really crispy.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't know you could do that either.
That is a hack.
Sometimes they will tell you that, like if the line's too long, they'll tell you can only order it on the app because it takes a while. So I tend to go in at off times. But there's a Chipotle by the office, and when I walk in, they're like, normal? It's like,
yep.
Awesome.
Pro tip right there.
Yeah, pro tip.
Yeah.
If you guys could take anything from this show,
right, yeah.
It's the Chipotle advice. Nice job, Eric.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to cook or do you like to order in?
Cook.
Are you the cook or is Ashley the cook?
I am the cook.
What do you make? What's your specialty?
Steaks. Yeah.
How do you cook your steak?
I do a reverse sear. I smoke them first.
Mm-hmm.
So I smoke them on a Traeger till they get to like 110, 115. And then I get a really hot pan, do about 2 minutes on each side, and it comes out amazing. We have 4 kids, 9 to 17. Everyone has an incredibly busy schedule. So like family dinner doesn't happen that often. But when we're able to do it, I like to cook a nice meal.
Yeah.
And so we'll do steaks quite often. And for big holidays, that's typically what I do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, this has been amazing. Eric, thank you very much for letting us into your world a little bit and being a good sport with all of Abbey's great questions. And for sharing your expertise on the market. This is great. I can't wait to do more of these. Thank you for being our guinea pig and our first guest in the, what is it? What's the?
Hometown Hustle, baby.
Hustle series.
Yeah.
And Abbey, amazing job. Thank you very much for bringing the humor and that incredible Chicago accent. It really makes the show. But this has been great. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be a fantastic addition to what you already do. And, you know, our lenders are the face of the business in so many markets across the country. I think it's going to be great for our borrowers, for our partners out there, and just for the rest of the community to get to know these guys.
Absolutely. And Joe Rogan, we're coming for you. Right now, you're number one, but we're making our way. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to bringing more of this to you. For now, bye-bye. That's a wrap for this episode of the Hustle Harder Show. We're grateful you joined us, and we hope you took away some lessons and insights that can help you on your journey. Here at the show, we're driven to bring you real value and entertainment in the form of interviews and content that move the needle in your business and life. So if you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe and send us your feedback so we can deliver more value more often. And if you want to reach Renovo Financial to see if we can be a fit to help you finance your next real estate investment, please reach out to us on our website or social media. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.